All right, let's get started. So today I'm going to discuss a paper written by Bertrand and Scoer. And the paper's title is Managing with Style, the Effects of Managers on Firm Policies. So in the previous corporate finance literature, when we analyze the firms as well as the agents, from a theoretical perspective, there are two strands of literature. So the first strand of literature is a neoclassical view, where we assume the agents are homogeneous and selfless inputs. In other words, these agents are the same. So they so they do not matter in terms of the corporate practices. And the other strand of literature is the agent theory, where we assume the agents have discretion over the firm, but it is heterogeneity in corporate governance that accounts for variations in corporate behaviors. And the interesting part of this paper is that the authors empirically document that agents do matter in the determination of firm policies, which is interesting. And based on the paper, the manager fixed effects are important determinants of a wide range of corporate variables. And on average, these manager fixed effects resulting in a marginal increase in adjusted R square of more than 4%. So judging so judging from their findings, this paper definitely adds insight to what I call our debate, our debate between the firm and the agent. And the overall assessment, I think, um, I think that I think the question, the research question of this paper is very important because it relates to the efficiency implication of agents and managers, the role of whom we tend to ignore in literature, but the managers and agents in reality play a huge role. And with regards to its empirical design, I think it's pretty good because the authors, when they empirically test these marginally fixed effects, they just conduct kind of a GRS test in corporate finance. So if these manager fixed effects, if this manager do have active influence over the corporate practices, all these manager fixed effects should be statistically different from zero. However, I still think this paper, there's still some room for improvement in terms of this paper. Specifically speaking, there are some endogeneity issues left unaddressed, and there is also an important question worth investigating. So, in terms of endogeneity, when establishing the causality, the authors run the following panel regressions. So basically, they just control for the year fixed effects, CEO fixed effects, and some foreign fixed effects, and some time varying control variables. And our interest here is the CEO fixed effects. Well, my first question is there any control for corporate governance? Even though the authors in the paper, they say that they do not aim to distinguish the specific channel that that contributes to the manager fixed effects. I do think this is a very important. It's very important to control for the corporate governance when estimating the causality because of the agent theory, and um, and because in the papers I haven't found the specific definitions or the specific variables the authors use to control. I'm not sure whether the authors control for corporate governance. So if they don't, I suggest they should control for the, let's say, board size, the number of independent directors, etc. And the second question is, is firm heterogeneity time invariant? Well, in practice, especially in the corporate finance literature, this not that's not the case. So my second suggestion is maybe the authors should consider the firm times year fixed effects instead of the year fixed effects. And also, it is a little surprising to me to say that when when establishing the causality, the authors do not add the industry fixed effects. Well, but actually, like but actually, based on the sample, like the authors focus on the top 500 firms, and of course, these firms span across different industries, and some heterogeneity in the industry may account for the manager's fixed effects. And the other part I want to mention is the compensation incentive. So basically, I extracted all these results from the table 7 and 8 from the original paper. And to the authors, these results seem very surprising because in their view, well, because based on their argument, the acquisition and diversification fixed effects are negatively related to the fixed effects on return and assets. So basically, these two coefficients are negative. But for the compensation part, these coefficients are positive, meaning that even though these two fixed effects are negatively related to the performance, those fund managers still get higher compensation. To the authors, these results are surprising. But to me, actually, this is not surprising because we know that in the literature, we have the convex compensation performance assumption. And we also know that, especially in those top 500 firms, these big firms, these managers, they have the very lucrative tournament incentives. So my suggestion is that when estimating the manager's fixed effects, it would be better to control for the compensation. And lastly, there is a further question. So, well, of course, in the paper, the authors document the size distribution of all these manager fixed effects, but an equally important and interesting question is, what's the economic implication? So, based on the estimated manager fixed effects, so what's the monetary value of the manager practices on corporate variables on average? And we also want to know the size distribution of the manager fixed effects in monetary terms. So my suggestion is that maybe for each manager, the authors can first calculate the monetary value of manager practices on corporate variables, and then take a cross-sectional average among all managers. It will be very interesting to check whether on average of manager adds value to the firm or not. And this also adds insight into the efficiency implication of these managers, especially in the context of big firms. And this concludes my discussion. Thanks.